All right, welcome back. We are going to take our puzzle cube and now make all of the documentation for our puzzle cube. So we've already done the 3D printing for it. Now we're ready to do our documentation. So if you go to design, we're going to first do our animation. So you can click on the animation tab and it's got your puzzle cube here. And we want to use the transform manual explode, which has a hotkey of E. And if it's not on your main toolbar here, you can pin it to your toolbar, clicking on the triple dots. And then once it's on the toolbar, you can move it where you want it. So I usually move it first because it's the thing that I'm going to use. And now I'm going to explode this part, these individual parts. So this one I'm going to do first, and I'm going to go ahead and click backward here, and I'm going to pull this blue part back. Unselected, so click somewhere over here, left click to get off the selection. And then I'm going to move the red H forward and say okay. And then I'm going to move the orange piece down in this regard. So again, manually explode, click on the orange piece, go down, and then I'm going to drop that down this way and say okay. And it now has put together this animation for me that when I play it, it'll show those parts coming apart. You can reverse it and play it in reverse, but this is what I want. I want to have my 4 pieces that are separated so you can see how they go together. So there we have it. This is called Storyboard 1, by the way. You can rename it if you want, to Exploded Do. And just hit save, and that's all you need to do for your animation. You're all set. There's all sorts of fun things you can do with the animation. You can literally like spin it around to the other side, and now when it starts, it'll kind of start and then explode around. I mean, all sorts of things that you can mess with. You can change the timing of these if you want them to just all explode at the same time. You could do that. As you go, you can stretch these out so they, it takes a longer period of time, so you don't get dizzy when you're watching your video. But you can kind of show those things together like this. Kind of fun. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to keep my camera view back to where I had it. This at the end, so it just finishes to there. Is what I want. So we'll save that. We're going to go into drawing from design now. We use sheet size A in my classroom in portrait mode. The contents, you can say visible only or select. I just do full assembly for right now. And then we're doing a manual drawing. And we're going to say, okay, I've not done the automatic. I don't know if it's very good or not. I guess I'll do some testing on that later. But for right now, we're going to do manual. It's going to put a sheet here with what's called a title block down here at the bottom. And here's our puzzle cube. We're going to change our style to visible and hidden edges. And then I'm going to use the red item to start with. And this is where you need to be thinking about, okay, what is the best front view for this part? And the best front view would probably be in this orientation right here. You want the most contour, most detail, longest dimension typically for here, and least hidden lines. Again, there's not going to be any hidden lines there. You can't get away from having hidden lines there, but that's going to be my best front view. That's why we're starting with the red piece. I'm going to put it about right here. Again, I want to keep about an inch away from each of these sides. I drop the part and I say, okay. You could scale it up. So this is kind of small. So I could do this as like a 1.5 to 1 scale to make it a little bit bigger. Might be beneficial. But then I'm going to turn off the other parts. Just remove them. Not really turn them off, but I'm literally removing it. So now it's just the red part. I can move it where I want. I can then do a projected view of this and go up and drop it to the right and drop it and to an ISO and drop it and then hit the green check mark. And now I put my top view and right side view. And then I double click on this and I change this to shaded and say close. And that's it. Now, this down here gives you some populated information. So gives you a scale, gives you a title and a project. So I would probably change these. You know, this is going to be Puzzle Cube. So I'm going to copy this. The project is Puzzle Cube. And then the title of this one is going to be Red Part. And then you finish the properties there. So I just double clicked on that to edit that title block. For dimensions. So I want to make sure that baseline dimensions is on my toolbar and it's the second most used dimension. So I put it second. The regular dimension is my first. So I'm going to create a dimension for each one of these with the smallest, you know, dimension first. So you can see there's the smallest dimension. From here to here's the smallest dimension. And then there's only one dimension here, so that's that one. And then from there on, I'm doing a baseline dimension. I click on this one, and then I click on the corner points, as many as I need, and then you right click and hit OK. Do another baseline dimension here. Again, I'm going to go to this point, and then my overall height, right click and say OK. And now you might be thinking to yourself, well, you told us in class not to cross through the part. Well, our only other option would be to dimension to a hidden line. And that's a big no-no. This is, if you can avoid it, great. But anytime you have an indentation like this, you're not going to be able to avoid it unless you have an object line over here that you can dimension to. But we don't. So there it is. A couple of things that I want to, you know, change is when I go into my dimension units right here, and I can edit this, I can put leading zeros, trailing zeros, and units on all my numbers, and I can change my precision. So let's say I want to do 2 decimal point precision for my linear precision, and then I'm going to say OK, and you can see that it updated all those values. If this looks a little close, I can move these out a little bit, you know, to give some space. So I'm just single clicking and then grabbing that gray dot and then moving. But there's your first one. To do your next one, you just hit plus. Go to base. It's going to pull our part again. Just drop it currently. Again, visible with hidden edges. Say OK. This time we're going to do our blue part. And now we need to be thinking, okay, what is the best view for our blue part? So let's go back to our camera here. So I want the least hidden lines and the greatest dimension and probably, you know, how does it sit? And I would say this is probably the best front view here. This is okay as a front view, but again, I think this is probably a better front view for the part. So how do I get that to be my front view when it's showing this? Well, front doesn't always mean front. This is the front of the cube, not necessarily the front of the blue part. So I need to think, okay, what is the front of the blue part? Well, it might be the bottom. And again, I'm going to change the scale to 1.5 again. And then if I change the orientation to bottom and say close, did I get, you know, or top? Like I can literally click on these and see which is going to be my best, you know, front view based on these. Okay. And we said, so it is actually this view, the front view. We're just rotated weird. So let me show you the camera again. So what we're seeing is actually this right here. I'll kind of show you side by side. You see it? So there's this view right here. We want it to be like this. So we're going to rotate this 180 degrees. around this way. So to do that, under modify, there's a rotate. It's right here, it's the symbol. I click on the view and then I say transform, and you can pick any point. It doesn't matter. I usually pick a corner and then I start rotating and then I drop it and say, okay. And now this is my front view. I can now project off of here, up here into the corner and double click and do that. And then I go through all my dimensioning again. Again, let's talk through it. Dimension, we go from the smallest dimension first. Make sure you're outside the bounding box of your part. So move it out here. From here to here. And then from here to here. So we're going to dimension on this side, on this one, and we're going to do a separate height for the overall height on this one. Just because we don't want to cross through if we don't have to, we can show the height of that step right here. We could show it on this side, but this is better. It's between views. And then we'll go to our baseline dimension. Again, we want to go to here and here. And then baseline dimension from here to here. Again, right click and then left click on OK. And there's not our red part now, but this is now our blue part. And there's that. And we just keep going. We do this for all our parts. The last one we do is our full cube. So again, we're going to do a 1.5 scale. This one, we're going to shade the whole thing. We do a projected view up, one over, one to the corner. And this time we're just doing we're doing overall dimensions. So from here to here, here to here, and here to here. And if you're like, man, I didn't leave myself enough room, you can literally click on the base view and move it where you need to move it. Okay. There's this one. So you can say final assembly. And then our last one is going to be our exploded view. So this one's a little bit different. Instead of just dropping our cube, if you go up here to representation, we can click on exploded view. And it might say storyboard 1 if you didn't change that name. But again, I'm going to drop this. 1-to-1 is fine here because again, I don't have a whole lot of room. Go up to tables, go to parts list, and you can anchor it to the corner here. Should snap to it. And then it automatically populates our part number and this information. So I'm going to double click on it. Part name also works, kind of like that better. And then get rid of material. Close it. And then these balloons, you're going to have to move around. So if they're like all off in no man's land, just you click on the gray and move it around. Like I can move this and I can move the arrowhead. Okay, so move the arrowhead as well. Move these around so they're at least a little closer to your part. And this is going to be exploded view of your part. So when you're all done, you will have all of your parts fully dimensioned. You'll have an overall puzzle cube with dimensions, and then you will have an exploded view with parts list and balloons. And you'll see that they should have like sheet 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4. But you're going to have either 7 if you have 5 puzzle cube parts, or 6 if you have 4 puzzle cube parts that this happens in. Now, if you're like, oh, I got to add another one because I forgot a part, that's no problem. You know, we're going to do one here. You know, we've got our orange part. So now we've got it. Might as well talk about it while we're here. So the orange part is a little funky. So the orange part is actually, let's look at it. So you're like, well, what's the best front view of this? Well, it might be this right here is the best front view, which is actually the top view for this part. So when I go back to my drawing, by the way, we should probably save this. There's our puzzle cube drawing. It'll pop up here now. But when I do the orange part, I want to say, okay, instead of the front, I want the actual top. Now this is correct, but it's rotated wrong. So we can also rotate it using our modify and then transform. And now we're going to spin it around and say, okay. Again, let's go 1.5 for our scale, make it a little bit bigger. Do a project. Top view, right side view. Isometric, double click, make it shaded. Go through your sketches or your dimensioning from here to here. Shortest one first. Shortest one first. Don't go to a hidden line. Can't go to a hidden line. So on this one, we're going to have to dimension like on a bottom side. And then we're going to do our overall height there. And then baseline going from here to here to here. Baseline from here. Again, most of your dimensions should be on your front view. Change the name. Now, I can move these. I don't want this to be the last sheet. It's not sheet 5 of 5, so you can just literally click and drag it. And now it's sheet 3 of 5. And you can see that your overall is 4 of 5 and your exploded view is 5 of 5. So that's how you do your drawing files. Hope this helps. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of the day.